post the 4th of June, you, the Congress party, Rahul Gandhi, everyone together was trying to build this narrative that PM Modi's graph is on the decline, that Rahul Gandhi's star is on the ascendant, and that 2029 would be an election where the Congress and its allies would come back to power, and this was a government that was essentially on its way out. Given what happened first in Haryana and now in Maharashtra, do you accept that this has come as a crushing blow to that narrative which the Congress ecosystem was trying to build, that this is a government on the defensive and on its way out? Supriya, Shrinate, let's start with you.
I don't think the truth can be farther from what you just put out. I don't know what your personal view is, or is this the channel's line? I don't know about that, and I'm not here to debate this. But the reality is that the narrative that Rahul Gandhi is mounting, or the narrative that Mallikarjun Kharge ji is mounting, or the narrative that I am trying to say on your channel, is a narrative that we are picking from the ground. And on the ground, the situation is very different. One electoral win and loss cannot change the reality on the ground. And the reality on the ground is that India in the last 45 years is seeing its highest unemployment. There is huge prices surge that Indians are facing. They're crushed under high prices. The reality is that the gap between the rich and poor has only widened. The reality is that monopolies have been created, and so blatantly created, that one of the top businessmen of the country is indicted by a court in the United States. And I don't know what emasculates the BJP and our governance system. Why do they have to stand with a tainted man? So I don't think, the narrative is demolished or destroyed, as you say. Elections are won and lost. We've lost Maharashtra. It has been disappointing. But should I then say that Mr. Modi has been completely crushed and demolished and destroyed in Jharkhand? I'm sure there's a narrative that they wanted to peddle there. That narrative did not work. So I don't think the issues on the ground cease to exist. I will take 1 second to say something that must be said. And I think what needs to be said is that the last 10 years have seen a model of governance. What we are seeing now happen is actually blatant and brazen misuse of power. Not a word on Mr. Adani. The government is asked to debate this under Rule 267 in the Parliament. The Parliament is adjourned. Why? Why can you not discuss issues of national importance? Is this not an issue of national importance that one of India's top businessmen has been found with his hand in the cookie jar? And the charge is coming from no less than the Department of Justice's grand jury in the United States. It will have very far-reaching ramifications, something that we've discussed on your channel before. So the reality is nothing gets demolished and destroyed by one election win and one electoral loss.
Supriya Sule and the Congress party looking to press home the fact that they want a discussion on the charges that have been framed by a US federal court, saying that why is the government not allowing for a discussion? Is this not worthy of discussion? They're saying election losses and defeat are now in the past. We won one, we lost one. We intend to bash on, and the government needs to explain why it's not open to a discussion on this issue.
Well, Rahul, some people are so obsessed with their own figment of imagination that they don't want to come out of it, and they don't want to connect to the ground. And by the way, let me tell you, this is not a question of one victory and one loss that keeps on happening. Yes, we are in political life. The election will come and go. But consecutively, for the last 20 years, Mr. Rahul Gandhi has lost 89 elections on his own at his leadership. That itself justifies quite a lot of things, that what kind of a credibility he holds in the eyes of common man. As far as Mr. Adani goes, his indictment in the US court also doesn't say that he is guilty. Secondly, as today I have read, they are already going to request Government of India for issuing summons to Adani because they cannot do it on their own. They have to use the diplomatic channels. Third thing, it's not only the government of Chhattisgarh in 2021-22 when Congress was there, or government of Karnataka or Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, where all Congress allies were there. So these are the charges that Mr. Adani probably have bribed them to buy the solar power. Well, if these charges are proved in US court will take their own course. Now, what we have to do as a leader of opposition and in the power, what we have to do, what we are supposed to do. We are definitely going to look into it. And by the way, to her knowledge, I guess SEBI has already given Mr. Adani a notice to reply in a detailed format. If they want to have a discussion in the Parliament regarding Adani, there is no issue. We are not running on Adani. Please go through the natural process and give your notices. And it will be accepted in due course by the speaker. It's the domain of the speaker. Why do you want to bulldoze it? That yes, we want this, and then only Parliament will function. Why this attitude? And this attitude is nothing new. Since 2018, we have been observing a pattern that before any parliamentary session, something or other comes up. Sometimes it is Rafael, sometimes it is journalist story, sometimes it is Hindenburg, now it is Adani. Every time it's
Okay, hold that. You made some important points, but that's a question that Supriya Shrinate needs to respond to. The BJP is saying if Mr. Baghel is corrupt, why don't you sack him, take action against him? Why don't you leave the DMK? They're saying the SEBI has issued a notice to the group asking for a reply. And Ajay Alok even said that the speaker would in due course accept that there be a debate on this issue. They claim that they're not running away from a debate. They're saying, but why disrupt? He's seeing a pattern of disruption since 2018. Supriya Shrinate.
It's a silly argument if there is a pattern of disruption that's being alleged here, and I'll tell you why. It was our insistence on Manipur that finally led to a debate on Manipur in the House. Otherwise, the Prime Minister spoke for 36 seconds. After 76 days, Manipur has now been burning for almost a year and a half. The Prime Minister has refused to appeal for peace or has even refused to visit that state once, where he used to go and peddle his narrative for votes. The reality is in Manipur, people are baying for each other's blood. Your own allies are deserting you. Your own MLAs are asking for a regime change. Your own MLAs are saying Manipur will not be saved if you continue with the same Chief Minister. You turn a blind eye. That's what you have done to one of India's most precious states. So that's your track record on Manipur. This insistence is important. It's only when we insisted did we finally get a debate on Manipur. And as far as Mr. Adani is concerned, very interesting points being raised here. Now, there are two ways to look at the points that both the BJP spokesperson and the BJP supporter are raising here. Point number one, you are saying that we should be expelling people, means you agree that the bribes were given. Because if the bribes weren't given, then why should we do anything to these people? Both Mr. Stalin and Mr. Bhupesh Baghel have come on record immediately the very next day and said it didn't happen in our regime, it happened in the previous regime. We are open to any kind of questioning. Mr. Revanth Reddy, who is the Chief Minister of Telangana, received a 100 crore donation from Mr. Adani for a private and public partnership university on skill development. He has returned that money. He has said, I refuse to take this donation in light of the charges, in light of the criminal indictment of Mr. Adani. Now, if Mr. Adani is indeed giving bribes to people who supported you throughout, Jagan Reddy, Naveen Babu, also JNK, which was directly under your control, why are you supporting him? Why do you stand with him? Why can you not distance yourself from a tainted businessman who's getting nothing but disrepute to India's corporate sector, to India's rule of law and order? And as far as the SEBI is concerned, the lesser said the better. We all know SEBI probed Adani for 18 months and finally told in a signed affidavit to the Supreme Court that we have drawn a blank. Only to be found that the SEBI chief was invested in funds connected with Adani. She has numerous conflicts of interest about her ESOPs with a certain bank, about her leases with companies, about her flats being rented out. Numerous cases of conflict of interest. And the last point I want to make, the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence wanted to probe Adani on over-invoicing. Guess who stopped them? And guess who tied their hands? Your Ministry of Finance, who refuses to acknowledge anything on Adani. Your Prime Minister, who wants to look the other way the moment you mention Adani. The reality is that this cannot be a figment of our imagination, as you so say. And an election is not a barometer of public performance. If election is a barometer,
Ajay Alok,
is it right for the Prime Minister not to visit Manipur?
Supriya Shrinate argues that if you want action to be taken against Bhupesh Baghel, before that, there must be an inquiry by a government agency which finds evidence. It's very easy to ask for the DMK to be moved out of the India alliance or action against Baghel, but some government agency has to investigate. So they're saying, why can't there be a proper investigation? Why is this sense being sought to be created that the government is coming to the corporate group's defense? How do you respond to that?
Well, the 5 states in question, namely Odisha, Chhattisgarh, Telangana, Andhra, and Karnataka, and of course Tamil Nadu. The 5-6 states in the question regarding 2021-22 transaction, for which there is an indictment for Mr. Adani in US. Unfortunately, we don't have any case registered in those states. Now, based on a US agency which has filed a case in court, Congress party wants that this thing should be investigated. So we said that all these states, and during that period of time, were under your rule or your allies' rule. So why don't you get it checked first, whether it happened or not? You will get the answer in the first hand, which you are not ready to do now. You are the judge, you are the lawyer, you will produce the argument and you will give the judgment. And you want the whole country should abide by you because it is said by the Gandhi family. No, madam, this is not going to happen anymore. There is a set precedent, there is a set law, there is a set course that how we are going to proceed on anything.
You can press home the topic or the issue which is important to you. The government's contention, I think the Prime Minister voiced it in the morning, let there be a debate and discussion. There are many MPs, including those in the opposition, who want to make speeches, make important points. There are bills that will be discussed. The Speaker will allocate time for a discussion on this issue. It cannot be Meri Marzi. I'm saying that there must be a debate, and therefore forget everything else. There must only be a debate on this issue, and if there isn't, then I will disrupt Parliament. That's the argument being made. Let a proper time get allocated for a discussion on this issue, and let other work happen simultaneously. Supriya.
Rule 267 gives you the right to seek attention and discuss a topic. That's what the leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha, the Honorable Congress President, Mr. Kharge, was trying to do. He was told 3 times by Vice President Dhankar that nothing will go on record because he said it's important to discuss Adani. You don't think it's important to discuss a man and matter where countries around the world, some of them friendly to you like Kenya, are cancelling contracts and raising questions on our corporate governance? You don't think it's important to discuss a man and his business practices where Bangladesh court has ordered a probe, or where Australia is ordering a probe, or where Sri Lanka is on alert as far as our own businessman is concerned? You think these are not important things? You think it's not important to discuss what the grand jury of the United States is saying? How stupid and silly is this argument that because we are raising this, we should be there? Exactly the silly argument that they make on Pakistan. Now one should go to America because we raised this. I have one question to ask you, and this question deserves an answer from the Indian government. The more the BJP defends Adani, the more they want to look away, the more they tell us to go to the courts, proves how much their own hand is in that cookie jar with Mr. Adani. Because the reality is, if we were to go to court, then what are you elected for? You've got Department of Revenue Intelligence under you, you've got SEBI that reports into you, you've got institutions after institutions that are supposed to be responsible, that are supposed to look into this matter. Let me mind you, and for your viewers to know, the Security and Exchange Commission of the United States and the SEBI have a bilateral agreement. SEBI, if they invoke the disclosure clause, SEBI will be under oath to probe into Mr. Adani. Why are they not doing it on their own? Why did SEBI tell the Supreme Court we have drawn a blank on Mr. Adani? It's fashionable for you to sit here and say SEBI is looking into it. What is SEBI doing for the last 2 years? All these allegations have been flying thick and fast. The reality is that the BJP doesn't want to talk on unemployment. They don't want to talk about high prices. They don't want to talk about income inequalities. They don't want to talk about crony capitalism. They don't want to talk about Adani monopolies. What do they want to discuss? Everything that suits their narrative. The reality is that there is a state in India where people are paying for each other's blood. People are dying because of poverty. People in this country want peace.
Let Rajat Sethi respond to this. Rajat Sethi, respond to the arguments being made by Supriya Shrinate. Rajat.
There is no argument, Rahul. What do I respond to? I mean, I can't go out and respond to rhetoric. Today, what I'm saying is, you believe in something, you walk the talk. It is as simple as that. You want to put in a notice, you put in a notice in the Rajya Sabha or in the Lok Sabha on Rule 267. The same rule book says that the Speaker of the House or the Chairman of the House can take a decision on that. He took a decision. Why don't you accept that same rule book that you are flaunting? He said that this is not, that is solely his prerogative to decide whether that discussion is to be held during that day or not. And he took the decision. But the problem is that you do not believe and have respect for the institution of the Speaker or the institution of the Chairman. The real problem is that if you want to, for all the other issues, you've gone to the streets, you've gone to the public courts. Public courts have delivered the justice or decision on that. Now remaining is the legal courts. Go to the Supreme Court, or you don't want to go.
What about the public court delivering the justice in Jharkhand? Does that justice
Let a common citizen come up and file a PIL.
Does the Jharkhand not matter? Does the
100%. I am with you. I am with you on that.
What is this?
I am with you on that, madam. Please
the word from Jharkhand doesn't
allow me
matter.
to finish.
You are not the BJP spokesperson.
Not once have I spoken on top of you. Not once have I. Why are you so rattled, madam?
Okay.
You just
No, this is not fair. Both faders go down. I can't have both guests speaking.
A clean mirror that has been reflected back upon the Congress party, that please stop the nonsense of constantly bringing about Adani issue. The problem is that
Supriya Shrinate, very quick counter before I go across to Ajay, Alok and Sanjay Jha. Supriya, you wanted to make an interjection.
I love how so-called analysts want to downplay a verdict that has come in from Jharkhand or Jammu Kashmir or Karnataka or Telangana or Himachal. It doesn't matter what you think. The reality is that the tribals of that state knew exactly what you were going to do with them what you are doing to the tribals in Chhattisgarh. They knew exactly how the forests are going to be handed over to few of your crony capitalists, and which is why you were defeated. When are you going to understand this? When are you going to understand that the people of this country see through the Adani Modi conundrum? They see through how the BJP is more adamant at defending Mr. Adani than they are at defending their own party. They see through the fact that within hours of Rahul Gandhi doing a press conference on Adani's indictment, the BJP has to jump into the fray to defend him. Why do you have to defend a man who's tainted? Why don't you let agencies act? Why don't you let CBI, ED, Income Tax, SEBI, DRI, all of these agencies come in? Why are you tying their hands? Why are you not letting that case of over-invoicing happen? Do you have any answers to that? The reality, Rahul, is, and I will say this I will say this with great assertion, the reality is that there was no disclosure that Adani made to SEBI about this grand jury indictment. There was no disclosure whatsoever that SEBI made to the stock markets about this. And I think these are things that need to be probed. Why was this the best kept secret as far as Adani and SEBI is concerned? Who is protecting the SEBI chief? Why is she still not vacating office when multiple cases of conflict of interest have been found? We all need to know these answers, because 10 crore investors and their money is at stake, and so is the reputation of our capital markets and our corporate industry. We want to know these answers. Who is protecting them and why? And we all know who's protecting them. We know the Prime Minister stands with Adani, and so does his entire party. That's the reality.
Supriya, you know, you've been a business journalist for a long time. You've seen how most of the Adani chips have recovered on the markets, which would suggest that outside of the politics that's playing itself out, outside of the legal case against these two individuals, the public markets, for what it is worth, seem to have faith in the group and in these stocks. They've come in and invested even at these levels despite these charges. It's not as if like there was after Hindenburg where there's a multi-day lower circuit being hit. The stocks have bounced back quite rapidly, saying that the public markets and Indian investors have faith in the group. I'm out of time, so final word. Supriya.
Because I have been a journalist and an economic journalist for a very long time, I can tell you that this is a hoax. Because we know exactly how shares are controlled. We know exactly who buys into them to ensure that they don't reach the lower circuit, to ensure that they recover. And LIC and ILNFS, all of these people come to the rescue. Because I've been an economic journalist, allow me 5 seconds to tell you that rhetoric is one thing and facts tell you the other. The reality of the BJP is that for 12 quarters straight, FDI in India has been falling. Less and less people are investing in this country. For a party that got the rupee at 58, you have taken it well close to 85 to $1. That's what you have done. 11,000 MSMEs are shutting down every day. The reality is that the India story that you talk about stares at joblessness, at high prices, and at gross income inequality. The reality is that Adani at 638 in the world list of rich people was at number 2 thanks to Mr. Modi. The reality is from NDTV to Quint to GVK to Krishnapatnam to Ambuja Cement, every company that he has acquired was raided either by the income tax or the CBI or by the ED. And that is happening at the behest and with the support of Mr. Modi. You cannot look the other way. If you want to debate with me with facts. Don't give me this rhetoric. FDI is coming. FDI is dropping, sir, for 12 quarters now. The rupee is well on its way to hit a century thanks to you. The joblessness is at a 45-year high thanks to you. That's the reality. And you want to whitewash Adani? Whitewash him at the risk of India losing its global destination for investments, its global destination for rule of law. That's what you're doing.
शाबाश बेटा, बहुत बढ़िया।
अब बताइए मैं क्या करूंगा?
एक बहुत सिंपल सी टिप आपके साथ शेयर करती हूँ। अपने हाथ को इस तरह से रखिए। If you look at this from your side, आपका लेफ्ट हैंड आपको बी के जैसे दिखेगा और राइट हैंड आपको डी के जैसे दिखेगा। बी एंड डी। बी फॉर
थोड़ी मदद रखिए।
वे मैं तो तेरा मन पर